Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio with the technical director here, Jonathan Voico.
Good morning, everybody.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a live comment, question, observation that you'd like us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news about this tip link. It's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to the John Campea Show podcast on podcast form, either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this video a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still use this tip link, send on in a question, and if you send it in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? The Oscars are coming up. We're getting into Oscar season. We're getting up to the end of October. That means a lot of the Oscar films are going to start coming out. The Brutalist is coming. The Conclave is coming.
That's this week.
That's this weekend. A lot of people saying it's going to be one of the front runners for Best Picture. Ralph Fiennes, the best actor alive, who doesn't currently have an Academy Award on his shelf. This could be his year. A lot of the big films are coming out. So people are starting to talk a little bit about Oscars. Some of the big outlets are starting to give their early Oscar prognostications. Well, here's a little bit of unfortunate news. In what I think is probably the best movie of the decade, Dune 2, a movie that I'm sure is going to get a bunch of Academy Award nominations. One Academy Award nomination it will not be getting is for Best Original Score. But John, you may say, Hans Zimmer's score for Dune 2 is brilliant. Why are you saying it's not going to get nominated? Because of a rule that the Academy has. According to Variety, Dune 2, Hans Zimmer's Dune 2 score has been disqualified from the upcoming Oscars this year, despite the fact that it is a breathtaking score. I was just at the Hans Zimmer concert a couple of weeks ago here in Los Angeles, and when they started playing the Dune score, my wife Ann, who loves Dune, she literally started weeping, like tears started coming down her face. Like the music is amazing. It's incredible. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why is it disqualified? It's disqualified because of a particular rule that the Oscars have that a lot of the other award bodies don't. Variety writes this. The Academy's rule states, in cases such as sequels and franchises from any media, the score must not use more than 1/5, 20% of pre-existing themes and music borrowed from previous scores in the same franchise. Since Zimmer's composition for Dune Part 2 incorporates substantial elements from his work on 2021's Dune, it falls outside of the eligibility criteria. All right. The Oscar rule basically says, if you are a sequel, you cannot use more than 1/5 of the music that you used in a previous film. To me, and I'm not a member of the musicians branch of the Academy, and I'm sure there are smarter people than me that would probably sit down and explain why this is such an important rule. But to me, this is utterly ridiculous. Now, should you have safeguards to say, hey, you're not just going to take the score from your previous movie and just drop it in the new movie and have it be counted? No, of course not. I think there should be some kind of guide. But 20% seems utterly stupid, and I'll tell you why. Is there a rule in the Academy's actors branch that says, hey, if you're in a sequel, if you're acting in a sequel, you can't have more than, 20% of the same mannerisms that your character had in the first film. Your character in the sequel cannot perform, 20% of the same types of movements. Can't have more than 20% of the same people that you're talking to on screen. Your performance in the sequel can't look more than 20% like your performance in the other one did. Of course not. There's no such rule because the Academy understands it's a sequel. The question that will be there for the Academy then in judging, say, an actor in a sequel is, do they take what they did, bring it into the new film, and then also continue to build upon it? We have seen movies, sequels, and franchises where actors and performers get nominations despite the fact that they're playing the same character and bring over more than 20% of the same mannerisms and characteristics of the character from before because they want to see, yeah, you've got that, but also what else do you bring? That should be the same criteria for the music. Of course, you're going to have Paul Atreides' underlying theme. Of course, you're going to have the main theme of Arrakis playing underneath it. Of course, you're going to have, music of the Fremen that's going to care. The question that the Academy should be is not do you bring more than 20% over, but is do you take that and then build upon it? Mm-hmm. Which I would argue Hans Zimmer did. Like, what are you going to do? Say, does the cinematography branch have a rule? Well, if you're doing a sequel, cinematographers can't shoot more than 20% of the same kind of shots that they shot in the last film. That would be ridiculous. It'd be ridiculous.
Or like same locations.
Yeah. Can't shoot the same shots, same locations. Don't use the same kind of movements or whatever. You can't use more than 20%. But it's a franchise. It's supposed to have a visual feel. There should be some similarity there to give it a sense of consistency and throughput from the previous work to this work.
Yeah, I wonder what I'd like to get into the nitty-gritty of that, because are we talking like 20% it's piece for piece, this exact piece in this runtime was on the part 1 soundtrack and it is on the part 2 soundtrack? Are we talking about themes that he's made variations out of? I mean,
yeah, all it says is that you must not use more than 20% of pre-existing themes and music borrowed from previous scores.
Boy, that's themes is the part that gets me, because that's tough.
It's extremely tough. And again, like I said, if other branches of the Academy had similar rules, if the cinematography branch said, hey, in a sequel, you can't use more than 20% of the same kind of shots. If the actors branch said, hey, if you're an actor, you can't bring over more than 20% of the mannerisms and characteristics of the art. If you're a writer, you can't carry over more than this. If you're a costume designer,
yeah,
are you not supposed to use more than 20% of the same kind of feel and look and theme? Well, we saw Wakanda Forever and Black Panther both get nominated for costumes, and there was a lot of similarities in the costuming between one and the other. Again, I might have a little bit of understanding for this if all the other creative branches of the Academy had the same kind of rules, but they don't. Why? Because the other branches understand that if you are indeed a sequel, there needs to be some consistency that then hopefully you build upon. Again, let me reiterate, I'm not saying that we should just be okay with the musical score of one movie just being completely lifted, brought over, and just 100% dropped into the sequel and say that thing. But 20%? I would argue 20% of similar themes, be it musical themes, performance themes, cinematography themes, I'd argue that 20% is necessary to bring over in order to have a feel of continuity with the previous films.
I probably won't find it in time. I'm just trying to see if like this happened to Lord of the Rings with the trilogy. I'm just quickly looking, but go ahead.
And somebody on the live chat just brought up, I missed them. I lost them in the live chat, but somebody in the live chat just said, so what? If you're directing a sequel, you can't use 20% of the same actors? If you're a makeup artist, you can't use 20% of the same makeup? Look, all I'm saying is that Academy, you are film professionals. You understand that in making a sequel or a film that's a part of a franchise, there needs to be some tinkering about what goes into it as opposed to a new original film. And you guys are smart enough to know when a film is building on the original work or is just copying, pasting the original work. You guys are smart enough to know when one and the other is happening. And I just think for something like this, where you're going to get one of the best films of the year and arguably one of the top 2 or 3 best scores of the year is disqualified simply because it's in a sequel.
So interesting. So Fellowship of the Ring actually won Best Original Score.
That's the first film.
Yeah, it wasn't in Two Towers, but Return of the King also won Best Original Score.
But was it nominated in Two Towers?
It might not have been nominated, but Return of the King? I mean, that's a sequel.
Yeah, it's a sequel. And guess what? I heard the Shire theme in there.
A lot of some similar.
I heard the Aragorn theme in there.
Yeah.
I guess, again, I'm just saying I think the Academy needs to give itself more credit and understand that we're smart enough to understand this is a sequel. So it's good. Certain things are going to be handled a little bit differently, but we can recognize when you're taking the work from the previous film and building on it as opposed to just copying and pasting it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, listen, maybe you're somebody who's thought about it and thought, you know what? No, this is a good rule and we're okay with the theme being excluded. I would love to hear the rationale. Honestly, I don't mean that sarcastically. I would honestly like to hear the rationale. Or maybe you're like me and thinking, guys, yeah, there's going to be some similarities because it is part of a franchise. And other branches of the Academy don't impose such a ridiculous limitation on other creative disciplines like makeup, costuming, directing, acting, whatever. Anyway, whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Last night, the 7th episode. I believe that makes it the second. No, it's the third to last episode.
Third to last, but they're stacking the final 2, right?
Oh, that's right. That's what they are.
back.
They're putting the final 2 together. I forgot about that. So we've got one more set of episodes to go. So last night was the 7th episode of Agatha All Along. Now I'm going to give you guys a little bit of warning. I am going to discuss last night's episode a little bit in spoilery detail. So we will put up the spoiler warning here.
Yeah.
So what you guys should do is, as long as this spoiler warning is up, mute your TV, computer, your phone, your iPad, whatever it is you're watching the John Campea Show on. Mute it until this spoiler alert disappears. All right? I've given you advance warning? Yes? Good. Let's get into it. I straight up feel that last night's episode was the best episode of the series so far. And, it's coming off of an episode a bit back that I was a little bit questionable on with the Billy reveal, like episode 5, I think it was. I still liked episode 5. I still liked it, but I was a little bit iffy on it. Then last week's episode was pretty solid. We get into this week's, and I keep forgetting how you pronounce the character's name. Lila. I'm going to say Lilia, but maybe you guys in the live chat, phonetically, how are you supposed to say that character's name? The older witch. What's her? I'm going to say Lilia at any point. So
seems like it is Lilia.
Lilia. All right. So I thought this was brilliant. Straight up, I thought it was brilliant. There's very few things in movies or TV shows that really kind of annoy me when they throw in a little reveal or twist and you go, because this happens so often, you go, that doesn't actually make sense with what's come before.
Yeah.
But with the Lilia thing of her moving in and out of periods of time, of her living non-sequentially. If you were a video editor, you'd say non-linearly.
Yeah.
That her consciousness, you realize throughout the show that her consciousness is literally jumping back and forth between different points of time within the story. And I'm watching this play out last night, and I go, oh my God, this all connects perfectly. Like the weird little outburst in episode 2, or the weird little this, and they start running through it and you're like, oh my God, this has been weaved together beautifully. Weaved together beautifully. And I found myself watching it. I call it the Death Comes For Us All episode. That wasn't the actual name of the episode. I can't remember the name. I just called it the Death Comes For Us All. But I'm watching it and I'm like, this is God. I hope somewhere right now, the Obi-Wan writers, the She-Hulk writers, the whatever, so many of the other Disney Plus writers are watching and taking note how to beautifully interconnect and lace together this tapestry of a story that had this beautifully done revelation to us as the audience of her and her journey. And the way it ends with her going back to her head witch as a younger girl again, this time with a big smile, and the witch, I loved how the older witch like instantly knew, oh, I see. Where are you from right now? Like she just totally got it. She just knew what was happening. And I got to tell you, man, I just thought the culmination of that episode, I thought the way it played out, it's one of those things that made the previous episodes better. And that's not easy to do. When you can do something in your show or in a movie sequel or something that literally makes looking back on the previous episodes or installments and say, oh my God, those episodes or installments actually look better now because of what they just did here. I thought it was very well done. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And by the way, this look that they gave Agatha, when they go into the trial and each of the witches take on
the
look of a different iconic witch.
Yeah.
Agatha as the Wicked Witch of the West was chef's kiss. I mean, that was just perfect.
Timely.
And you had Billy as Maleficent.
Maleficent, yeah.
Well, if you got the cheekbones to do it, I thought that was a very good line. Just a great episode. Now, one of the complaints I have, is that you remember when we found out about Billy's identity and all that kind of stuff, one of my big issues was, well, wait a minute. Why did Lilia, when she clearly saw that this kid was about to die, why did Lilia just let him die? Because remember, that kid is dead. That kid didn't transform into Billy. The kid died. William died and lost his life. And I was kind of hoping that as we would move further in the episodes, I was kind of hoping they would give Lily an opportunity to explain why she had to let it happen. And when they did in this episode, I found it very unsatisfying. Like she says, I put the sigil on you because I knew you'd need time. Oh, that's so sweet, Lilia. Oh, you knew Billy would need time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice and thoughtful of you. Didn't think the other kid needed to live?
No.
I put the sigil on you because you're a delicate flower and you need time. You need time to adjust. So I interfered. Lilia interfered and put a sigil on him. Oh, isn't that thoughtful? But no thought to go, oh, kid, you know what? Take an Uber tonight. Kid, get your parents, even though you just had a bar mitzvah and there was a lot of food, tell your parents you want to stop at McDonald's or something. Like, oh, so thoughtful to put the sigil because Billy needs time. But not, oh, this kid needs to breathe and have his heart beat and actually live. So to me, that was kind of an unsatisfying resolution to that one big problem I had. But that aside, see, this is a bad excuse. Dante Sriracha in the live chat saying you can't affect the timeline by putting the sigil on Billy. She's interfering with the timeline anyway. You can't say, oh no, see, Lilia didn't interfere because she can't interfere. She can't disrupt the timeline. But she did interfere. She did interject. She did take proactive action, made up a sigil, and slapped it on the kid so Billy could have time, but never thought to just say, hey, kid, stay alive. She literally sentenced the kid to death. And so I wish they had written that out into a more satisfying way for me. But aside from that, okay, so take that. That's my one big issue. The episode was fantastic. It's my favorite episode of the season so far. It makes the previous episodes better. I just adored it. And then came the revelation of Rio. The Rio is death. And you know what? Once they revealed that, I thought, oh yeah, when Lilia was having the vision, and I think it was episode 3 that she saw death. I'm like, oh yeah, that was her. I thought that was really brilliantly done, and it raises a whole bunch of questions. It's like, wait a minute. So instead of Thanos, Agatha's been having the knock boots and uglies with Death herself? That was her lover? That's pretty cool. And now it's going to be kind of interesting to see where they go with that and how they're going to incorporate that. I wonder if it's somewhere in the final 2 episodes, she drops a hint about some annoying guy who keeps pursuing her or something. If there's some very veiled Thanos reference. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying it would be kind of funny if they
to court death.
Yeah, this guy kept wanting to court me or whatever. I mean, that would be fun if they did, but whatever.
What are the odds now? There's just a double episode left. What are the odds that Agatha sticks the landing?
I mean, okay, so that's the big question, right? So Agatha has been better than expected. And they're hitting their crescendo at just the right time. I mean, this wasn't the second last episode, but it was the second last week. And I think they just delivered the best episode yet. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely cresting, right?
Right.
But traditionally, this has been the Achilles heel of Disney Plus shows. Even some of their better ones. I mean, WandaVision completely stuck the landing, so that was great. But I would say there's Disney Plus's second best show, Ms. Marvel. I think the show is great, but it didn't quite stick the landing. It didn't botch the landing, but it didn't stick the landing. A lot of Disney Plus shows have a tendency to start strong and then not stick the landing. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm going to say, you know what? There's been a real consistency in this show. Mm-hmm. You know, it's never been as good as, say, The Penguin.
Right, no.
But there's been a real consistency. So I'm going to say a 75% chance that they stick the landing.
Pretty good.
I'm going to give it a 75% chance that they stick the landing. So we'll see. Anyway, you can pull the spoiler alert down now.
All right.
Question is for you guys. What did you think about this 7th episode of Agatha All Along? We only have 2 episodes left, both of them dropping next week. I thought it was the best episode yet, to be honest with you. To me, it made all the previous episodes even seem a little bit better. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about Venom, The Last Dance. We talked about the first reactions that came out. Well, the full reviews have come out now. And even though they're better than the original film, they are not as kind. We're going to talk about those. Also, Henry Cavill has had discussions with Marvel about joining the MCU. There have been rumors for a long time. Well, we're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the films that I'm really looking forward to is Venom: The Last Dance. I'm going to be going to see it in a couple of hours. Even though the critics really did not like the first one, I really did. Unapologetically so. I love that first one. I had a total blast with it. I even liked the second one. You know what's the funny thing is? The critics liked the second one more.
Yeah, 57%.
And I liked it less. Anyway, whatever. I still like it. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, the other day, the first reactions for Venom 3 came out. And while a lot of them loved it and a bunch of them didn't like it, they all said the same thing. Like the people who didn't like it and the people who loved it, they all said the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's the best one of the trilogy. Like the people who really liked it, like, this is awesome. It's the best one of the trilogy. And the people who didn't like it, it's like, it's not any good, but it is the best of the trilogy. You know,
yeah,
so
right.
That was kind of thing. Now, look, 7 out of 10 times, the first reactions usually line up, generally speaking, with what the full reviews are. Like, you know, when the first reactions from Adam Webb were like, the first reactions for Napoleon were, the first reactions for Morbius were, you know, all that kind of stuff. Every once in a while, at least not so semi-regularly, the first reactions come out and they end up being like significantly more positive than the full reviews that come out. You know, we talked about this before a little bit about why that is. And I think there's two reasons why. One is that when people are just giving a first reaction and you're just limited to what Twitter gives you, you tend to want to say the positive things first. And then when you get into your full review, you go into more of the negatives, right? I also think the second thing is this, and I can attest to this myself when I used to go to press screenings and stuff. If I didn't like a movie I just watched, I often wouldn't then tweet about it when it came out.
Yeah.
Not because I was nervous to, it's just and I just wouldn't bother tweeting about it. But when I would come out of a movie and I did really like it, well, then I'm more than likely to fire out a quick tweet and say, hey, I really like this. So I think when you combine those two, you tend to focus more on the positive when you just have a limited thing you can say. And secondly, I think you're less likely to tweet out when you walk out of a film you didn't like. Anyway, it happens. Well, after the first reactions came out, a bunch of other people who were in the exact same screening as those people who gave the first reactions came out. And while some of them certainly liked the film, a lot of them didn't, because right now, Venom: The Last Dance is sitting at a 37%. That's not good. You know what's funny, though? At 37%, it's still a better score than the first Venom got. So if you're somebody like me who's really looking forward to Venom 3, if you want to look on the bright side, if you want to try to find the silver lining, oh my gosh, Venom: The Last Dance has a 7% higher score than the first Venom did. So if you want to be an optimist like me.
So maybe the audience will be like an 82 or 83.
Well, see, that's the funny thing, though, right?
It doesn't have much variance with the audience.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. This is one of those franchises where, for whatever reason, the audiences just seem to like the movie more. Like 9 times out of 10, the audience scores and the critic scores line up within the same quarter.
They're
right?
very close.
They'll always be within, like 9 times out of 10, they'll be within 25% or 1/4 of the score. They'll be within that 25% window of each other. This is one of those movie franchises, though, that just never has. And I don't know why it does that way. For Venom, I really don't know what it is for Venom that does that. And I haven't seen it myself. Now, who knows? I may walk out of Venom later tonight, because I will do an out-of-theater reaction. I may walk out of Venom tonight and go, my God, this thing went downhill.
Right.
Or maybe I'll love it like I did the first one. But, and you know, and here's the same thing, right? You got to understand that these people who put out the first reactions and these people who are putting out the reviews are out, they were all in the same screenings. They were all in the same screenings. Because I already saw some people saying, oh, that just goes to prove that the people who do the first reactions they want to make sure they have that access. Well, these people writing the bad reviews for Venom were in the exact same screening, and they're putting out a negative review. So it's not like one's being honest and one isn't. Like, I totally believe everybody who wrote a first reaction and said they liked it, I totally believe they liked it. And the ones who put out a first reaction and said they didn't like it, but still thought it was the best of the trilogy, I believe they're being honest and they didn't actually like it. But it's the same people. They're all coming out of the same bucket. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. Again, because that first Venom film had a 30%, but had an 80% audience rating.
Right.
And I'm one of those 80%. I love the film.
But you know what's interesting is that, you know, they were within like 4% on the audience score, but there was a $350 million difference at the box office. So I wonder how that's going to track for this third one.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger Mask in the live chat saying, but the negative reviews weren't first reactions. Well, but there were negative first reactions.
There were like this is terrible, but it's better than, you know.
Yeah, there were. We read some of them. There were negative reviews in the first reactions. There were positive reviews in the first reaction. There are positive reviews in the full reviews. There are negative reviews in the full reviews. But it's just clear that the trend continues for Venom, that the critics don't like it, and they never have. Yeah. But it is, ironically enough, a higher critic score than the first Venom, which I just don't understand.
Yeah. It's like saying, well, there were dog droppings on my lawn, but at least this time I didn't step in them.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. And again, I might hate the film too. I might hate it.
Yeah.
But we'll find out a little bit later tonight. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Are you interested in Venom: The Last Dance? I still am. I'm excited because the critics hated the first movie and I loved it. So we'll see what happens. But the full reviews, not as kind as the first reactions were. We'll find out. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this. You know, ever since the Calverine showed up in Deadpool and Wolverine, a lot of people, first of all, audiences freaked out when Calverine showed up. And I love the line that Ryan Reynolds says is, let me just say, I'm paraphrasing it, but let me just say, sir, we will treat you so much better than those dickbags down the street, or whatever it was that he said, right? I mean, which is just saying the things that a lot of people thought. And everybody, since then, everybody was going crazy about it. And everybody's saying, oh, he's going to be the Wolverine and he's going to join the MCU and blah, blah, blah. And what did I say? I said, no, he's not. I said, guys, this was a fun visual gag. It was brilliant. It was funny. It was short, but it entertained for the moments that it happened. But don't be silly. Henry Cavill is not joining the MCU. Right? That was my opinion. Well, I like to try to be the first one to tell you when it's starting to look like I might have been wrong. Because while I thought that, no, this clearly was not done with any future thinking. This was just a quick, fun cameo. Guys, you're crazy if you're trying to read into it or looking into more. Well, here's the thing. A lot of rumors started going around. First of all, 99 out of every 100 rumors that float around on the internet aren't true. But a lot of rumors started floating around early. It's like, oh, Henry might be in the MCU. And oh, Henry's meeting with Marvel to be in the MCU. And oh, all this stuff I just ignored, right? I just push aside. I push aside 99% of the rumors that go around. But every once in a while, I at least feel like I should let you guys know, and then you can do with it as you wish, when I have personally started to hear the same thing. Here's a situation. So there have always been these types of reports going around, right? Henry Cavill's MCU cameo could turn into a full role, rumor suggests, and blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of stuff like that, right? So I just brush that stuff aside. That's nonsense. 99 times out of 100. But when I start to hear the same thing, it doesn't automatically mean it's true, but I at least feel like I should tell you guys, just out of curiosity, out of interest. I had a conversation last night via text that basically laid out that in August, Henry Cavill or at least Henry Cavill's representation, did indeed have sit-down meetings, not necessarily with Kevin Feige, or maybe with, I don't know, but discussions about a role for Henry Cavill in the MCU. Now, this wasn't from some outlet. This wasn't one from some random Twitter account. I actually talked via text message, talked with somebody last night who said Henry, or at least his representation, whichever one you want, has indeed engaged in discussions with Marvel about having a role. That flies completely contrary to everything I've been saying, which is like, I don't believe he's going to do this. No, guys, this is just a quick thing. But listen, Marvel, love or hate Marvel, and you're entitled to feel either. One of the things I think you got to acknowledge is that they normally nail their casting, right? Their casting has been, like a lot of people forget, nobody ever heard of Chris Hemsworth before he was Thor. A lot of people looked with a strange look on their face when Chris Evans? The guy from Not Another Teen Movie or whatever it was called?
That's where you're going to dig from?
He's going to be Captain America? Wasn't he already Human Torch in those bad Fantastic Four films? But I think we can acknowledge that generally speaking, Marvel, the one department at Marvel that always seems to crush it out of the park is their casting. We even believe so when they cast Mahershala Ali to be Blade. The only reason people are still excited for Blade and want to see this thing, Blade, get made is because Mahershala Ali was going to be it. That was perfect casting. So I truly believe that if they cast Henry Cavill in something, it will legitimately be because they think he'd be perfect for it. Anthony Hopkins was a brilliant Odin. Brilliant Odin. Right? If they're looking at Henry Cavill, it's because they have a role in mind and they think he'd be perfect for it. It won't be because, well, you know what? Let's stick it to DC by casting their guy who was their Superman. That had nothing to do with it. That would have nothing to do with it. It won't be, oh, he's kind of popular. There's a lot of popular actors out there. If they end up casting Henry Cavill for something, it's going to be because they think he's perfect for it. And if Henry Cavill takes it, it's going to be because he thinks he'd have a good time doing it. Now, Henry Cavill's dance card is building up, right? Like he's got the Highlander films, if they ever get around to going into production. And he's got that Voltron movie.
Voltron now, yeah. Warhammer, if that ever gets out of development.
Warhammer, if that ever gets out of development. But remember, we talked about this on the show yesterday. That's still nothing. His dance card is still pretty open. An actor usually works about 2 to 3 months on a movie. Even though it takes years to make a movie, an actor is only there for 2 to 3 months. Yeah. Like Henry Cavill can make 3 to 4 movies a year if he wants to. So there's room on his dance card.
Sure. Even Bond stuff is just a rumor, so.
Yeah. Oh, I would listen. Would I like to see my boy Henry in the MCU? Yes. Would I trade that to have Henry Cavill as Bond? Also, yes. I mean, I would personally, if the choice was there, like if Barbara Broccoli and Kevin Feige called me and said, hey, we're having this, we don't both want to have Henry Cavill.
Like Bond.
So what do you think, Campea? Should we have him as James Bond or should we have him in Marvel? Bond. Make him Bond. He would be a great Bond. There are other guys who could be Bond too that would also be great. I'm just saying, if they gave me the choice, I'm saying make him Bond. So none of this means anything's going to happen, but let's play, as we as film fans like to do, let's play the speculation game. Remember, speculation is fine. Just don't let your speculation become expectation. So if Henry Cavill was to join the MCU, who could we see him playing? And not a rhetorical question. I'm asking you guys in the live chat. Feel free to throw in some ideas. But like, number one, I'm going to start with Wolverine. I think his cameo disqualifies it.
Yeah, I do too.
I do not think we are going to get the Calverine, right? I don't think
to me that's like the Mr. Fantastic cameo in Multiverse of Madness. Like that's
I think
he was quite violent. The guy just showed up and asked him a question and he killed him. So it's like,
but that could be Wolverine depending if you catch him on the bad day. But I mean, I don't think it would be Calvary. Would I be mad if we found out tomorrow that Henry Cavill was going to be the new MCU's Wolverine? No, I wouldn't be mad at all. That's fine, but I don't think that's going to be it. A lot of people then try to say Captain Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Britain. Now, this goes back a couple of years because Henry Cavill specifically said he would love to play Captain Britain. Here's my problem with Captain Britain. And again, I wouldn't be mad if they announced it tomorrow. My thing with Captain Britain is that it's a little on the nose.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, we don't even have, he's Psylocke's brother. We don't even have Psylocke yet, not in the MCU, but I mean, it's a little on the nose, a little too equivalent to a Superman character, all that kind of stuff. So look, would I be mad if they announced Henry Cavill's Captain Britain? Not at all. Not at all. But it wouldn't be my pick. I think the pick, also a bunch of people in the live chat are saying Wolverine. Magneto. A lot of people in the live chat are also saying Magneto.
Oh, like a young Magneto again.
Like a younger Magneto sort of thing. You know what? I wouldn't be mad at that either. I wouldn't be mad at all at a younger Magneto. But the one I really like, and a bunch of people in the live chat have said this one as well, I think Henry Cavill would be a wonderful Cyclops.
I do too.
A fantastic Scott Summers. Now, they had a great Cyclops before.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I freezing on the actor's name?
James Marsden. He's hanging out with Sonic now.
Yeah, who hangs out with... By the way, why does James Marsden in Sonic still look like he's the same age when he was in X-Men 20 plus years ago?
I don't know.
How does that work? How does he still look kind of the same age as he did in a movie 25 years ago?
He's got a sigil.
He got a sigil. Got a sigil. I like that. So, like, they had a perfect Cyclops. James Marsden would have been a great Cyclops if they didn't misuse the character so badly. I love the original X-Men films, but one of their big weaknesses was they totally misused Cyclops. Mm-hmm. But I think Henry Cavill can carry that total leader, total guy in the room. I think he could be it. And Cyclops is a character you need to have somebody who's also a very good actor. Henry Cavill's a very good actor. That's what I would like. So I don't think it'll be Wolverine. I'd be okay if it was Captain Britain. I don't really see that one. Magneto is one that interests me, but man, I gotta tell you, I like the Cyclops idea.
Yeah, kind of cool too because he has played Wolverine in a cameo, but this is like the counterpart to Wolverine. So
that's true. The other guy in the love triangle. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Henry Cavill or his people have indeed spoke with Marvel about exploring ideas about him being in the MCU. Maybe it turned into something, maybe it did not. But just for fun, as speculation, if he were, who could you see Henry Cavill playing? I'd be interested. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the main part of our show, which is, of course, taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick second here and thank another sponsor of today's episode, our friends at the Dollar Shave Club. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Dollar Shave Club. Hello there, my fellow handsome gentlemen. Nice face you shaved there. Whether you're going smooth shaven or maintaining a beard, Dollar Shave Club offers shave and grooming products that are always high quality, but never overpriced. If you like to wet shave for that clean, close shave, they've got the Club Series 6 Blade Razor. A shave so comfy your skin will take a nap. 6 stainless steel blades for our closest and most comfortable shave, with a vitamin E infused lubricant strip for comfort and glide and precision trimmer for precise detailing. Their amazing Shave Butter Clear View Smooth Glide, designed for precision. Shave Butter is a translucent shaving cream alternative that allows you to see exactly where you're shaving. Bonus, it has long-lasting lubrication that helps soften whiskers for maximum glide and leaves your skin feeling hydrated. But don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself. You can visit their site right now for 20% off, $20 or more, and get your products delivered right to your door. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/Campea and use promo code Campea for 20% off, $20 or more. And remember, however you shave, Dollar Shave Club is here to help you stay handsome. And thank you to our friends at the Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Jake W. of San Diego says, "Hey, John and crew, regarding the God of War series, would it be so crazy to cast Christopher Judge?"
Yes.
I know it doesn't fit the look exactly, but the dude is huge, has the voice, and Kratos is painted white anyway. Would love to hear your thoughts.
I really don't care if the actor is white or black or whatever. That doesn't matter to me. That has nothing to do with it. Mike Judge is now, hold on a second, Chris Judge? Chris Judge,
Judge.
Chris Judge is now 60 years old.
Yeah, that's up there.
And he doesn't quite physically look the way he did. And no, listen, honestly, and let's be honest. Every time I see people say Chris Judge should play Kratos, that's just nostalgia speaking because you love his voice, that he was the voice of the guy in the game and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, no, I don't think he should be. And listen, I have really liked Chris Judge going all the way back to Stargate. I loved him in that show, and his voice as Kratos is great. I mean, I was there at the Video Game Awards, and he said, "Boy," like, "read it, boy," or something like that. It's great. This thunderous, great voice and everything. But let's be honest. The only reason anybody would think about that is just because of nostalgia. The show will be much better served to get a better fit for an actor in the role. So no, I don't think there's any chance they get Chris Judge, nor do I think they should at all. Now, that's not to say that I don't think they should find a role for Chris Judge in the show. There's a lot of different guys that I think he could do. I can actually think of one or two of the dwarves that, remember the Dwarf brothers in the game?
Yeah.
I think him as the voice and even the mocap, whatever, I think that could be fun and whatever. But no, I don't think he can be Kratos. All right, what's next?
Okay, Kellen with a two-parter and starts off with a $20 tip.
Oh, thank you, Kellen. Appreciate that, man.
Hi, John. I've been listening for over a decade now. Your show has gotten me through many hard times in my life.
Thank you, man.
Movies have always been my place of solace. Even when recovering from heart surgery, my family used to put on AMC Movie Talk to raise my spirits.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to raise my blood pressure. It's like, Kellen, your family's trying to kill you.
Yeah, that could happen too. Thank you for the years of memories. I have always looked up to you. Now you've inspired me to finally create my own podcast. What advice do you have for podcast creators starting out can be tricky?
Listen, starting out can be very tricky. As a matter of fact, we just started a brand new YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right? And it's tricky. There's also not, you can do everything right and still not succeed. Look, I'd say this. The best advice I can give you is it's many years old now, but all the principles still apply. I created a video a long time ago called Getting Started in YouTubing, Blogging, and Podcasting. If you just go onto YouTube and search John Campea Getting Started, you should be able to find a couple of those videos that I made. So, and those are like a couple of hours long. So instead of me going into it in depth here, I'll say that. But also I'll say this. Don't do it thinking you're going to make it a career. Do it because it's fun. Do it because you enjoy doing it. If you're doing it because you think you're going to make a career out of it, then you're going to make bad decisions and you're ultimately going to be disappointed. If you just do it and look at it as a hobby and you're just doing it as fun, number one, you'll have a much better time doing it. And number two, I would actually suggest you'd probably increase your chances of having success down the road. So check out those videos. Hopefully you'll find them helpful. All right. What's next?
JT says, does anyone plan on seeing Here by Robert Zemeckis? It seems pretty interesting. It's got a de-aged Tom Hanks and a camera that stays in the same place the whole time. Well, here we go. Bring it on, Zemeckis. I mean, I'm interested. It does have a little bit of like that uncanny valley sometimes when they're real young looking.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I give it a pass. I get what they're trying to do.
I can give that a pass. I also love interesting concept, like the idea of the entire movie being told with one camera angle. That's amazing. And I love Tom Hanks. I love Robin Wright ever since she was Princess Buttercup. But I've not heard great things about it. And it makes me nervous to see it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got a couple other things I'm going to be giving priority over it, but maybe at some point I'll get around to seeing. But so far, I haven't heard wonderful things about it, so we'll see. All right, what's next?
Sebastian says, hey, John and gang, concerning the Nolan film, potentially with vampires, if it's a Universal picture, do you think it could be about Dracula or Van Helsing? Maybe do you do for Dracula what Nolan did for Batman? Thank you.
Well, first of all, they don't need Nolan to do anything. Dracula's Dracula, right? I would say this. My first initial reaction is to say, no, I don't think they're going to be using like Dracula. I don't think Christopher Nolan wants to do a Dracula movie. Mm-hmm. But keep this in mind. When Christopher Nolan was doing Oppenheimer and he had his movie project all planned out, he shopped the movie to different studios. Now, obviously, every studio wanted it, and every studio gave him a bid and gave him a pitch, and ultimately Universal won. With this new Christopher Nolan movie, it was reported in the major trades that there was no bidding war. That Christopher Nolan went straight to Universal and said, I'm going to do this with you guys. Many of us assume that's because, well, he just made Oppenheimer with them and had great success and enjoys working with their executives, and that's why he did it. Mm-hmm. But what if, maybe, just maybe, he needed to do it with Universal because it does involve Dracula or Van Helsing or other Universal property? I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying it is interesting that with Oppenheimer, he shopped the project around. With this one, he went, nope, I'm going to do it with Universal, period. That ends it. What if part of that reason is because he specifically needed to do it with Universal?
Yeah.
Again, I still don't think that's the case. I still don't think it's going to have Van Helsing or Dracula, but that is something to keep in mind. All right, what's next?
All right, Garden Variety says, John, as a fellow theology major, have you heard anything of the new Bonhoeffer movie coming out opposite Wicked and Gladiator 2? My gut tells me it might have a political slant as it comes out at election time, though after versus before.
I'll be honest with you, I've heard nothing about it. I'm not familiar with it.
Nor have I.
Yeah. By the way, just for those of you who don't know, a little interesting bit of trivia there for you. Do you know the comic strip? I'm sure you all do. Probably the greatest comic strip of all time, Calvin and Hobbes. Do you know that those two characters are named after theologians? Just throwing that out there. That Calvin and Hobbes are both, they were both named after theologians.
Like Calvinists.
Yeah,
right?
and Hobbes was anyway. So yes, there you go. A little bit of trivia for you. All right, what's next?
Eddie Burton says, curious your thoughts on David Zaslav's performance as head of WB. I remember you talking highly of him and when he first came into the job, making points that I agreed with. But now time has passed and a few bumps in the road. How do you feel now?
I still think he's doing a great job. Now, here's the thing that everybody very conveniently forgets. When AT&T sold Warner Brothers, it was in absolute, complete free fall. AT&T literally, in this, I think it was just 2 years. Can you look up for me, Jonathan, when AT&T acquired WB and when they sold it. Okay. But it was a very, very short window of time. See, everybody forgets this. I think AT&T bought it for like $8 billion or something.
Seems like it's 2018. At least that's, let me look.
Yeah. And I think they bought it. My numbers may be off a little. Just take this as general idea, right? AT&T bought Warner Brothers for like $8 billion. Completely destroyed it. Absolutely destroyed it. Mm-hmm. Because they sold it just like a couple of years later.
Yeah, it was 2018.
So they bought it in 2018.
Yeah.
And they sold it in what, 2020? 2021?
I'm gonna look that up. Sold.
For less than half of what they bought it for. Now, that's okay if they bought the company and held it for 15 years and all that kind of stuff. And then 15 years later, just gradually it lost its value and gradually it lost its value.
Oh, it's 4 years.
It was almost 4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. If it just gradually, little bit by little bit, started losing its value. We're talking like that. AT&T took like an $8 billion company and put it into absolute free fall where it lost over $4 billion of its value in just the couple of years that they owned it.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers was literally a comet crashing to Earth when David Zaslav took it over. It was under AT&T's ownership where they pulled their infamous dumbest move ever pulled in the history of cinema. The move that made Christopher Nolan leave Warner Brothers. When then CEO Jason Kilar said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put all of our movies on streaming this year. To which all the filmmakers who had agreements for their movies to be in theaters went, excuse me? And they didn't even tell their filmmakers they were doing it. The filmmakers found out in the press release like everybody else. And Christopher Nolan, that's when Christopher Nolan left Warner Brothers.
Right.
He's like, you guys are a joke. I'm out. And that's when Christopher Nolan left Warner Brothers. Everybody forgets. Everybody likes to pretend like when David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers, it was this healthy, thriving, studio. Because I remember I said, when that acquisition happened, I said, can they stop the bleeding? This is going to be a long-term project where they're going to have to do a lot of stuff because Warner Brothers wasn't doing this. It was doing this under AT&T. And it was this comet falling from the sky that David Zaslav and team took over Warner Brothers. And the reason I say that I think they've been doing a good job, and by the way, I don't know that any person on earth could have saved Warner Brothers with the state AT&T left it in. I don't know that anybody's, and I still don't know that David Zaslav's going to be able to save it. But I know this. He's a doctor in a surgery, in an operating room, and they just brought in a guy who'd been shot 85 times. Is he going to be able to save the patient? I don't know, but I'll say this. The very fact that Warner Brothers still exists right now today is a testament that David Zaslav's actually done a pretty good job. Because in anybody else's OR, the patient would have been dead already. Let me repeat that. In any other OR, the patient, Warner Brothers, would have been dead already. He still has it alive right now. It still has a chance right now because he's made some very bold, he's been willing to make the unpopular decisions. And the very fact that Warner Brothers even still exists today with the state that AT&T left it in is a testament to the fact that he's done a very good job. Because again, I think under any other executive, under almost any other ownership group, Warner Brothers would have been dead already from pre-existing wounds. So it's just, and everybody forgets that. Everybody just pretends like, when David Zaslav bought it, it was just on a level, evil playing, starting from scratch, starting from zero. No, Warner Brothers, when they got it, was in an absolute death spiral. And the fact that it is still around is an absolute testimony to the fact that, yes, they've done a good job with it. Because I think they'd be dead if they hadn't. And by the way, they may still die. This may be one of those situations where the doctor comes walking out to the family and says, we did everything we could, but the injuries were just too substantial. We couldn't save them. That Warner Brothers could be dead and gone in the next 2 years. Might be. But the fact that it ain't dead yet, that means they actually got into the hands of some pretty good leadership. So we'll see how it all turns out in the long run. All right. What's next?
Cynthia says, I've been a Transformers fan since I was a kid and have enjoyed many of the series. Finally saw Transformers 1 and it was awesome. The story of Optimus and Megatron is one of Shakespearean tragedy, akin to Charles and Eric. I love the various homages to overall lore.
I love the movie. Again, listen, I'm not going to over hyperbole it. I'm not saying that Transformers 1 deserves to be nominated for Best Picture of the Year. I'm not saying that. But I believe it is the best Transformers movie ever made. I think it's the Transformers movie I've been waiting my whole life for. I thought it was a wonderful movie. And nobody went to go see it. It flopped hard. I doubt there's a future for it now, which really sucks. But I hope Paramount has the vision to say, yeah, we lost a lot of money on this film, but look how many people, like everybody who watched it loved it. And maybe we can build on that. That's the only hope we have.
I still kind of blame the trailers. They just made it seem too goofy.
The first trailer.
Yeah.
The second, the one that came out on Comic-Con, everybody seemed to get on board with, but it was too little too late.
Yeah, it just seems so silly and like stupid jokes and like just, yeah. Oh, well.
All right, what's next?
CM Water says, these Disney Plus physical releases always bring tears of joy to my eyes. To know that in an era where Best Buy and Target are getting rid of their physical media stands, Disney of all companies still understands the value of physical media.
No, Disney does not believe in the future of physical media. They believe they can make some quick bucks right now, do like putting like I think the Loki series and things like that. But 100% Disney does not believe in the future of physical media at all. Like not at all. They are the train that they are on, the track that the Disney Plus train is on is they want everybody transitioning over to a subscription-based model. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that is the reality. And while they may here and there put a few things out and stuff like that, their long-term plan, I'm just going to tell you right now, their long-term plan does not involve physical media. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying their long-term plan does not involve physical media. All right, what's next?
Forbidden says, people are starting to turn on Netflix lately, with Daniel Craig recently saying this model is effed, Greta Gerwig stating to have concerns. Now, one of Margot Robbie's upcoming films decided to settle for less with WB over Netflix's bigger offer.
Yeah, and look, we said this years ago that this would eventually start to happen, right? That filmmakers want the movies they make, artists want the movies they make to be culturally significant. And they aren't going to be culturally significant if they just get dropped on Netflix. It's just not. I mean, if you're a filmmaker that already has cultural significance, say like Martin Scorsese making The Irishman. All right, yeah. That's going to have it regardless. Or Killers of the Flower Moon, because you're also going to have, okay, yes, that's the case. But with the hundreds of pieces of content that Netflix drops every year, almost none of them make a blip, make a drop in the cultural consciousness. And, people like Daniel Craig and others who do work with them, like kind of hope they'll see because they experimented with it, right? With Glass Onion, with the Knives Out sequel. They got them to agree to put out into a limited theatrical release first. And guess what? They enjoyed really good success with it. But instead of embracing that success, Netflix went, no, we don't like movie theaters. No. And so now you're starting to see, I think they were always there. They just weren't public with it. Now you're starting to see talent in the business going, you know what? We don't want to work with Netflix. Like Greta Gerwig is outwardly lamenting her decision to sign up with them to make The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because she really thought she could get them to do a theatrical release, and they're not. And now she's upset. Margot Robbie, we talked about this the other day. Her and her production team, they have this project. There was a big bidding war for it. And there was a report that came out that said Netflix is making the biggest offer for it, but it sounds like they're going to take less money because they don't want it to go straight to Netflix. That's going to start happening more and more. And that's why a lot of the stuff that ends up on Netflix is just crap that can get some money. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not in a critical state right now, but it's going to get there eventually. So it's not surprising. All right, what's next?
Okay, Anonymous says Aidan Turner, who is currently in Rivals, is one of the actors being touted for James Bond in the UK and has been for some time. Could be something in it. He's pretty unknown except in the UK, which is what they like. Daniel Craig was not a household name.
No, Daniel Craig wasn't a household name. Again, listen, I said when we did the rundown the other day, it very well could end up being somebody we've never heard of, right? That's totally true. Now, Daniel Craig had just done Tomb Raider, so there was a little familiarity with him when he went in there. He was in that with Angelina Jolie. So there was a bit of recognition, but yes, it could absolutely end up being an unknown to North American audiences. 100%. I've personally never heard of this guy. That doesn't mean he wouldn't be a great James Bond, though. So we'll see.
We got Tron says, hey, John and crew, not the biggest fan of Agatha all along, but man, last night's episode was great. I have a theory. Mephisto sent Billy's soul into Teen and is having him walk the witch's road to free himself, holding his brother Tommy captive. Thoughts?
I am not against the idea that it was Mephisto who sent the spirit of Billy into William. I'm not against that notion. I don't think that's why he's got him on the witch's road. And by the way, Billy had to choose to go on the witch's road. Right? Billy made that choice. He found out about it. He made that choice to do it. So Mephisto may have his other, if it is Mephisto, remember, they have name dropped Mephisto in this series. So, we'll see. We got 1 week. We got 2 episodes left coming out next week. We'll see how they resolve this thing.
All right.
All right, what's next?
Lorenzo von Matterhorn says, one character from Shrinking will manifest in real life and become your new best friend. Liz, the neighbor, or Brian, the lawyer. Who are you picking? No picking Harrison Ford. Also, really great use of licensed music in just these 3 episodes.
Liz. Yeah, Liz. Because Liz is hardcore. By the way, I love this show. Oh, Shrinking so good. Liz is hardcore. I think she's the funnier character, and I just have a feeling like he would also be great, and he would rank higher than some other characters on Shrinking, but Liz, like, I get the feeling Liz would kill for you. Like, I get the feeling she would, if she thought you were in trouble, Liz would straight up murder a fool for you. Like, that's the feeling I get. So that's why I would go with Liz. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Right. Anonymous says, I guess it's Tim, not Anonymous. Here we go. 1 of 2. Hello, Team Filthy. I have 2 theories about Penguin. First, I think that Dr. Julian Rush is just an illusion in Sophia's mind. After she got him home, you don't see anyone else speak to him. He is giving her confidence to do what she's doing. 2, my next theory is that Oz will not make it out of this season and is going to end with Victor being the new crime boss. The similarities between Oz's rise and his are mirroring each other. That's just a theory, a Penguin theory. Sorry, wrong show.
I do think, first of all, I really do think Oz makes it out of this. I think Sophia doesn't make it out of the season, which is unfortunate because, oh my God, Milioti in this role. Sophia is such a great character, but the characters are there to serve the story. The story's not there to serve the characters. And I think her dying is going to be a huge, big thing. So yeah, I think he definitely makes it out of the show. Because we already know he's going to be in Batman 2. We already know that Colin Farrell's going to be in Batman 2. So there's that.
What about that other theory though?
That Julian is a figment of her imagination.
I'm starting to think there could be some credence to that because he just like gets let in and no one ever talks to him.
Well, okay. But there have been. Remember, in Arkham, he literally argued with the head doctor.
Yeah, that's right. There was an interaction.
Right? Now, that also theoretically could have been in his head.
Yeah.
In her head, I mean.
Whose office is that?
He does get introduced and brought in by a guy. But again, that could be in her imagination. The thing that we haven't seen is a scene with Julian without Sophia in the scene.
Right.
Unless I'm not remembering a scene, right? So, you know what? That's not a bad theory. I hadn't considered that. That's not a bad theory.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's 100% like that's that, but it could be.
King Daddy Goat is saying, what if she killed him and she's imagining him still there? Because here's the thing. You've got this room full of mobsters when she kills Johnny Vitti.
Right.
No one's going to say, hey, like, why is this other guy in here that none of us know?
Right.
that none of us have met.
Yeah, he was just standing in there waiting for her to start
And he's just standing there. Nobody talks to him. Nobody interacts with him. You know what? I hadn't considered it, but that's actually a pretty good theory that he's not there at all.
Something struck me strange about that scene when she walks in that you're talking about, and he's just sitting there front row in the door, the entryway where she walks in, and he's just got his hands in his pockets, and they're all at the thing, and you know, the other dude that was about to get shot was at the head of the table. I'm like, that's really weird that they just accept him.
You know how just in Agatha All Along, they did that thing where they went back and revisited scenes, or like with Agatha, and she's like not in a police station. She's in her living room acting out the same scene. I wonder if at some point in Penguin, we'll do that. We'll flash back to her being in Julian's office, but she's not in Julian's office. She's in her own bedroom or something. Again, I'm not saying I 100% buy it, but it's a good theory. I'll give you that, man. That's a good theory. Let's see how it turns out.
All right.
All right, what's next?
I am not John Campea says, hi, John, the lovely Chris and the rest of the gang. Long shot. Could Nolan's next movie be an adaptation of American Vampire by Scott Snyder, as it's about American vampires through history, and it's a DC comic, which of course is Warner, but this is
No, it's already been said. It's an original written page one by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
So, so that seems unlikely.
And he's doing this with Warner, right? Not Universal.
Who? Christopher
Nolan?
No, he's doing it with Universal.
Oh yeah, so then it wouldn't be Warner Brother property.
Yeah. So, again, the reports that we have read is that it is a page one right by Christopher Nolan. So I don't think it's an adaptation. Maybe, I mean, I don't know that for a fact. It could be. I'm just saying that's what we've heard so far.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. Joe Adonis says, hi, John, Jonathan, and Ray. Are you guys ready for Venclave weekend? Well, I'm doing that today, Saturday night, in between. That'd be Enclave and Venom.
Oh, it's going to be a good weekend, man.
I don't even think I'll have time to see either of those movies. My schedule keeps getting filled, so now I don't even have Sunday now.
Ann and I are going to go see Venom tonight. Now, we can't see Conclave tomorrow because it's World Series Game 1. So Ann is a big Dodgers girl. So it's World Series Game 1, but I think we're going to try to run out Saturday afternoon to go see Conclave. I am so excited for Conclave, guys. They have not done a very good job marketing this film, but ever since they showed us the previews for it at CinemaCon back in April, we're all like, oh my God, this is going to be good. Got Stanley Tucci, Jonathan Lithgow, the greatest actor in the world not to have an Academy Award, Ralph Fiennes, who a lot of people saying is going to get nominated and maybe even win his Academy Award this year. This is going to be one of the films that's going to be in the running for Best Picture. I can't wait to watch it. I'm very, very excited for it. All right, what's next?
Darth AI says, I will be seeing Venom 3 tomorrow and caught a post-credit scene video on YouTube. Putting on my tinfoil hat, over under 30% King in Black storyline will be adapted in Spider-Man 4.
Well, we're just going to skip over. I have not watched it. I don't care. I don't want to know. So we're just going to skip over that. All right, what's next?
Harvest K says, there are episodes in Loki season 2 where it came close, but this week's Agatha episode definitely achieved a greatness that we haven't seen in a Marvel Disney Plus episode in a long while. May have just elevated the entire series.
Yeah, it's not, like I said when we were talking about it earlier, it's not often that they do something either in a film franchise or in a latter episode of a show that is literally transformative and kind of changes the way you see the previous episodes. Last night's episode, and listen, I've enjoyed the series so far, but last night's episode literally makes the show better. I look back and I think it makes the previous episodes better now that I know and I recognize what was happening. It's so wonderfully written. It is really, really well written. And last night's episode really made me appreciate that even more. Again, I don't think it's on the same level as Penguin or anything like that, but on its own merits, this Agatha series is this is turning into be a really, really good series. And I expected to like it because I love the showrunner, because it's the same showrunner of WandaVision, which is by far, like, guys, it's not even close. Let's stop pretending. Like, WandaVision is so by far the best thing Disney Plus has done, particularly in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I had some faith in Agatha because it's the same showrunner who created WandaVision, and I really like the Agatha character. But this show has ended up being better than I expected it to be, and I'm really quite enjoying it. All right, what's next?
Okay, Anonymous says Henry Cavill isn't an A-list actor.
No, he's not.
That's why he's doing B-level properties like Voltron and Highlander. What's been his big movie role these last 5 years? Enola Holmes. I think he's a talented guy, but he needs Marvel more than Marvel needs him. I don't think they need either of each other.
And by the way, there are B-list actors making a lot more money than A-list actors. It's just the thing. I mean, look, they just put George Clooney in Brad Pitt's movie and they dumped it on Apple Plus.
Yeah.
Right? You think Voltron's going to go direct to Apple Plus? I agree that Henry Cavill is not I think he's B plus level.
He's ready to break out. It's like he's so close.
Yeah. And I mean, and the problem has been that, I mean, Witcher was great for him. Superman wasn't well received, even though I think he's the best Superman we've had. All that kind of stuff. But again, I agree he's not an A-list, but there's the A-list category is a very small, like, who would you put on that? Is there really more than 15 names?
No.
On the actor side? I mean, of course, you got your Denzels, you got your Brad Pitts, you got your Leonardo DiCaprios. I mean, yeah, but there's not many who are A-list.
And even if you are, I mean, to your point more, I mean, look at RDJ. I mean, he's world-renowned. Most people love him. And yet anything else of a Marvel product
has failed.
Really do great.
Listen, I will argue with you that Robert Downey Jr. is not A-list.
And he is immensely talented.
He is and immensely wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, okay, great. He is Iron Man. But then you did put him in The Judge, flop. Put him in Doolittle, flop. He hasn't, I mean, other than Christopher Nolan blessing him by giving him a role in Oppenheimer, for which he won a well-deserved Academy Award.
But he wasn't the lead in that.
No. But I mean, I would argue that Robert Downey, and remember, fame is not the equal of A-list.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of famous people, super famous. The Rock is not an A-list actor.
He's an A-list celebrity, though.
He's an A-list celebrity, for sure. But yeah, I agree. Henry Cavill's not an A-list actor, but I believe he's solidly in the B plus category, and there's a lot of success to be had there. All right, what's next?
Ryan says, "Hey John, so I just realized that Selena Kyle and Sophia Falcone are siblings in the Batman since they're both Falcone's daughters. Do you think this has any implication on the rest of the Penguin or the Batman too?"
Yeah, that was one of the first things that crossed my mind. Was that, this girl
They're
is
half-sisters.
Half-sister of Selena Kyle. Maybe, again, my guess, and it's just a guess, is that Sophia does not make it out of this season. Which would then mean there really are no implications later on. But I'll say this, if Sophia does survive this season, I think there will be implications for Batman 2. But I don't think she will. So I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out.
Right.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. Where did we leave off? Okay, Sam Fisher. I maybe would get the original score rule being so low if it was a new, different composer, but this is the same person who scored the previous movie. If I was in the Academy, I would make it closer to 40, 50. I would lean like 35.
It's hard to say because, again, but no other branch in the Academy has such a rule.
And I wouldn't take on variations count as new to me. So I just mean if there's literally a piece that is that piece with the same time, as they just took that track and put it on this.
Just took the track, lifted it,
and put it over there.
No new compositions, no new nothing. Yeah. Just dropped it right. I get it. And like I said, that I don't think it can just be open season for copy and paste. But you have to have some leeway there that there needs to be a sequel needs continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, to the best of my knowledge, cinematography has no such limitation.
Mm-mm.
Actors have no such limitation. Directors have no such limitation. Costuming has no such limitation. Makeup has no such. None of the other branches of the Academy have that rule. They understand, if it's a sequel, there's going to be similarity, and you have to allow for that to a degree. I just think 20% or 1/5 is a pretty stringent number. Again, and none of the other categories have it. Oh,
Yeah.
well, whatever. All right, what's next?
Okay, Bry Guy says The Incredibles came out in 2004. Incredibles 2 in 2018. Pixar's latest scheduled release is the 2027 for an unannounced film. John, you being bad at release dates aside, when do you think we'll get an Incredibles 3? Do you like Johnny Bravo?
Well,
We know we're
you're throwing
getting
in
one.
too many questions there. So I honestly have no. I remember all I know is that they announced Incredibles 3.
Yeah, we know we're getting it.
So it's not going to be, we're not going to wait 14 years from now. It's going to be coming. So I don't know. Listen, if they've already announced it, my guess is they've probably already started work. I mean, it could be as early as 2026, as late as 2028. I mean, there's such a wide window. I don't care. I'll just be happy to get it because I never thought they would do another one. I mean, I think Brad Bird even kind of implied they would never do another one. But here he is doing another one, and I can't wait. All right, what's next?
Okay, Gavin M. These are our final two tippers. Gavin M says, I'm curious to see if the finale of Agatha, if Rio gets mad at Agatha and Billy when she finds out who he really is and realizes he's supposed to be dead. I want my bodies. Then Agatha has to fight Rio to help save Billy from death. Thoughts?
This is still one of the complicated things about this show. How is Billy supposed to be dead when Billy was never even real? That's the thing, right? He was a construct in the hex that then somehow somebody took him out of the hex as he was getting erased inside the hex and actually made him a real boy. Right? And so there's a complicated, I suspect Rio has known all along who Billy is. Because if you look back to episode 1, it seems to me like Aubrey Plaza knew more than what she was letting on, right? They made that kind of obvious. So my suspicion, and it's only a suspicion, is that she would have known that who Billy was the whole time. I don't know that. That's just my guess right now. All right, what's next?
All right, Darth AI says, Aubrey Plaza for me has really improved and become a good actress that can do comedy and something more serious. Loved her with Nick Offerman and Pratt in Parks and Rec, and now Agatha, you see the growth. What are your thoughts on her as an actress?
No, dude, she's always been great.
We just only saw her in a comedy role.
Yeah. What was the name of the one where is the safety not guaranteed?
Oh, I think she was in that. Yeah.
Hold on, let me just
the time travel one.
Yes. Well,
that's Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, she was so good in that. And what year did that come out? That was like 2012.
We need to see more of Mark Duplass, by the way.
Yes, you do. But Aubrey Plaza's done a lot of smaller stuff, and yes, if you just watched Parks and Rec, you wouldn't know just how, but once you start seeing even a lot earlier stuff, she has been a very good actress for a long time.
And what's this new movie she's in? Something Bet Your Ass or Watch Your Ass?
My Old Ass.
My Old Ass.
Yeah, My Old Ass, which I haven't seen yet.
I knew it was something like that.
But I've heard really, really good things about it, so I want to see that as well.
Yeah.
All right. We got a little bit of time. Do we have some channel? By the way, for our channel members, Jonathan puts up a post in our community tab every day or almost every day before the show, where we ask our channel members to submit some questions for free. So let's take a couple of channel member questions.
Okay, we got Collins, who says, as an MCU diehard, I think episode 7 of Agatha All Along was one of the best things Marvel Studios has ever done.
I don't know that I would say it's one of the best things they've ever done, but I will say it's one of the best things they've ever done on Disney Plus. The level of the writing was so advanced. They just did such a wonderful job, and you see how the whole tapestry of the show is coming together now. It was an excellent episode. I full credit for what they did there. I thought it was great. All right, what's next?
We got Yanni Moore says, hi, John and crew recently did a Pixar movie marathon, and my appreciation to the company grew enormously. One of the best, no question, and I was surprised that from all their films, WALL-E was on the most nominations at the Oscars was 6, the most from any animation film in history. I didn't realize that with WALL-E. It's not one of my it's not one of my go-tos. I like it, but it's not one of my go-tos.
Yeah, I adore the movie. I adore it. It's also not in my personal top 5. But I love it and all that kind of stuff. Like, what were the Pixar ones that did get Toy Story 3 and I believe Up were the 2 Pixar films that have been only 3 animated films in history have been nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
I'm guessing that Inside Out 2 is going to break that
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Inside Out 2. I mean, listen, let me be clear. I love Inside Out 2. I don't know that it's one of my top 5 favorite Pixar films. But I love it. I think it's fantastic. But yeah, only 3 animated films in history: Toy Story 3, Up, and Beauty and the Beast. That's it. Only 3 animated films ever to be nominated for Best Animated or for Best Picture.
Oh, right. I'm thinking animated picture. Yeah,
I know.
No. Yeah,
they've had many nominated for Best Animated. They have many wins for Best Animated. But for Best Picture overall, God, I love that film. Anyway, all right, what's next?
All right. Real Life Entertainment says, hey guys, if you haven't seen We Live in Time yet, I highly recommend it. It's such a beautiful story and some very powerful performances from Garland and Pugh, one of my favorites of the year so far.
Yeah, Garfield, Andrew Garfield. And it never played near me. And that's why I kind of missed it.
Yeah.
But listen, I love Pugh. I love Andrew Garfield. I have loved Andrew Garfield ever since The Social Network. A movie I still contend to this day he should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor for. But anyway, but I haven't had a chance to see it yet. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Culture Wars Diplomacy. Says, hey, John, Henry Cavill is still part of Warhammer, still part of Highlander, possibly in line for the next Bond. When do you think we'll get any of these actually on screen?
Well, I mean, again, the Bond thing, I doubt will happen. He's my pick, but I doubt that'll happen. As far as Warhammer and Highlander, like apparently he has started training for Highlander. Try that again. He has started his training for Highlander. He's been taking the swordsmanship lessons and all that kind of stuff. Because he said if you thought any of his swordsmanship was good in Witcher, it's going to look like crap compared to what he's going to do in Highlander. So,
because it's Scottish.
Well, because he says Highlander, because of all the years he's been alive, he's going to have like 12 different sword fighting styles, and he's going to incorporate all of them, right? Which sounds pretty cool. So Highlander is going to be the thing we get up next. That's the thing we'll hear about next. It's going to be officially going into production. The director kept saying, yeah, we're almost ready to go, all that kind of stuff. Warhammer may be sitting on the shelf for a while. So I'm not sure about that one. But then we got Voltron. He's going into production on Voltron soon as well. But again, that's not going to interfere with anything else because he's only probably going to be on set for that for like 7 weeks. So he'll be okay.
Yep.
All right, let's take one last one.
All right. VicHog says, I know you're an AMC A-list member. Is there any reason you chose over Regal Unlimited, or is it location-based since they pretty much offer the same thing? I don't think they do offer the same thing.
They don't offer the same thing. Here's the thing. It is mostly because of location. Sure. I live the closest movie theater to me when I lived in Burbank was clearly AMC. The movie theater, and I worked with AMC obviously for many years. And the one that is closest to me now is an AMC theater, the AMC Tyler Galleria here in Riverside. So there is that. But let's say for argument's sake that I had a Regal and an AMC equal distance to me, but I could only choose one membership program.
Right.
I would still take A-list. And the main reason I would still take A-list is because of this. With A-list, I can book a movie in a regular theater, in an IMAX, in a Prime, in a Dolby, doesn't matter. My A-list covers all of that. Regal Unlimited is not unlimited. If you want to see a movie in IMAX, you book it with your Regal Unlimited, but you also have to pay an additional fee, not a big one, but a couple of bucks. You have to pay an additional fee to see it in that. If you want to see it in the 4DX, you book it, but you have to pay an additional fee to go see it in that. You want to see it in 3D, which nobody ever should because 3D is stupid. But if you want to see in 3D, you book it and then pay an additional fee. So you will end up paying more. So for me, the A-list represents the better value, because it's one price covers everything. And that's why I like it a little bit better. But listen, I love Regal Cinemas. Their Unlimited deal, Regal Unlimited, is a great membership program. Fantastic membership program.
And they're great theater.
And a great theater. All right, guys. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. But for now, I want to thank Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
My name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.